What's going on, guys? It's another episode of Dynasty Queens. I'm your host, Pamela Nicole. I've got my beautiful co-host and best friend,
NiaJ here.
What's up? What's up? Guys, we have a beautiful talent here today. We've got the beautiful Raquelle Lynnette in the building. What's going on, mama?
Woo, thank you. Everything is good. How are y'all?
Good. Doing good, huh? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Let our viewers know exactly what you do and a little bit about your background.
All right, cool. So I am a beauty blogger. I lived in Vegas for 6 years. I just moved back to my hometown in Minnesota, which is different, but it is what it is. I started doing beauty blogging before it got like mainstream and everybody, the TikTok and the overnight success and stuff. So just the classic YouTube tutorials. And I've kind of shifted, not just doing beauty tutorials. I am a CEO as well. So I sell courses and I also have a brick and mortar business opening this fall for childcare.
Fantastic.
Okay. So if you could actually tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up, did you have like a love for like being in front of the camera, or did you do like little, did you act like you were like a reporter or talking? Like, how did you get in tune with your, desire to be in front of the camera and, do your thing?
It's funny you say, was I like a reporter? Because I used to always like tell everything and I would always go back and report things word for word. So I've kind of always been into the reporting aspect, but I went to a performing arts high school, always did dance, gymnastics. So I've always been in front of the camera, into the theater and things like that. But for the makeup thing, it kind of just came real hard. And I was like, I got to get into this. And I loved watching YouTube and I felt like I could mimic what was being taught because everyone would always ask me for makeup advice. So I just decided to get online and record it rather than just answering every single inquiry.
I love that. And you know what? You're a beautiful girl too. I wanted to just
Thank you.
Gorgeous. As a beauty influencer, what do you think is probably the most difficult thing to kind of get out there for like Black women as far as like products? Like, what do you feel like is kind of like a stigma? Like people will get a product and it's just really not what it seems. What have you dealt with that is kind of like that?
Oh, well, the only thing I've dealt with that is like sunscreens. Back in the day, all the sunscreens used to show up, white or purple, and, we wanted to protect our skin too. So just as of the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, there's a lot of skincare brands that are like, okay, well, we need to help everyone. So it needs to dry invisible. So that's really the only issue I've ever come across. There's a lot of issues when people are like, oh, they're not making enough shades. I've always just steered to who caters to me. So I'm not going to complain about it. We have always had MAC, so if you had to go back to the OG, you can just go get some MAC and support those who support you. So
straight short into the right?
Yeah.
So how old were you when you discovered YouTube? And I know for people in my age group, it was kind of a sensation. There were a couple, videos that went viral. I guess those were the early days of going viral, and it kind of, reeled me in. But what was it for you that you were like?
So I'm a millennial. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my early 30s. So I was like 15 and I used to love Christina Aguilera, and she performed this song and my cousin was like, go to youtube.com and type in her performance. And that was the very first time. So I was like 15. And then from there, it never stopped. I used to love watching music videos. And then the makeup tutorial started way later. I wasn't
Right.
I didn't even know that it existed until I would say about 8 years after that.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the progression from like that initial like, ooh, let's look at this Christina Aguilera video to kind of doing what's considered vlogging to like, what was your first content that you put out, and kind of give us the trajectory and the timeline leading up to the vlog.
It was so bad. So it all started on Instagram, and I would say 2012. It was like the first time I ever signed up for Instagram, and I just started seeing girls with the eyebrows. I was like, I want my eyebrows to look like that. So I started digging deeper and went on YouTube and found this entire world of beauty and how to prep your face, what type of foundation. Like I did have very rough beginnings, but it took a few years of me self-teaching myself. And then I worked at Sephora. And then I was like, I'm confident enough to spread this knowledge. And I went to Aveda for esthetician school. So I was like, I think I can do this. I'm giving actual knowledge, not just going off of my own, whatever I've learned,
Period. Right. I think you did mention Vegas. I actually live in Vegas myself.
Yeah. I was in Southern Highlands.
Okay, so I'm in Cadence, actually, in that area, okay. like Las Vegas area. So I know exactly where you were. That's what's up. So
I miss it.
I like to just get people's kind of point of view, Nia. So you have that thought process, just how difficult it is being out here, because I know you can attest to that, like as far as just the cost of living and just trying to make it out here. Do you mind sharing your story, your Vegas story with us?
Not at all. Not at all. So I moved to Vegas in 2017, and when everyone thinks about Vegas, they're just thinking the nightlife, partying, and the fast life. So I was a makeup artist. I was doing the YouTube and I was doing makeup artistry. I had my own studio in Minnesota before I moved. So when I went down there, I was like, I'm just going to hit the ground running and do makeup all the time. I lived close to the Strip. I was going to hotels. I had a studio, whenever I could get booked. You really have to hit the ground running. You have to have a kind of hustle mentality if you don't have a corporate job. And that doesn't mean hustling yourself, but if you know how to do something, you need to build on your skills. So it was very hard because I was a single mom of 2 out there, and there's not really a lot of daycare. So sometimes I would have to bring the kids to the hotels to do makeup. It was very hard, but I eventually found my way, started networking with people. And once you're in with people in Vegas, they're going to refer you. So your name means everything. It's such a small town, So if you are good, everyone's going to recommend you. So you just have to really have a hustle mentality and build meaningful relationships. You don't want to burn yourself out in the club scene or burn anybody, because word will travel.
Wow. So when you first made your transition to Vegas, how did you anticipate that things were going to go? Like, did you feel it was going to be a more smoother, like a smoother ride, opposed to what actually, transpired?
Being honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. I jumped without a parachute. I was in a domestic violence relationship. Not to go too deep, like it's a layered situation. I was in an abusive relationship for 9 years, 2 kids. I was like, I need something different. So I was like, I'll just take my skills to Vegas. They are always booking. I got flown out a few times to do makeup in Vegas. So I was like, I know I can do this. I'll just continue to book myself back to back to back. So I just was living on a prayer.
Wow.
And doors just kept opening and opening for me. So
I find it amazing. I find it so amazing. Women that have the resilience to be like, you know what, I'm tired and sick and tired of the situation. I'm going to get my ass out of here. And then your small children as well. And then to go all the way, because you were coming from Minnesota, is that right? Before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So all the way from Minnesota to Vegas with 2 little ones on the dream of what you're doing in the makeup world, on the makeup scene. That takes a resilience. It takes a confidence. And regardless if you at the time knew it, because you were probably in motion and probably in shock and everything from what had just transpired. And that was your rebirth and your chance to really manifest it all at the beginning.
Oh, man. Girl. Some days I was just like, wow, how am I even doing this? Because, there's no like welfare or anything. Vegas is not that type of a state. If you're on your last, that's why there's a lot of homeless people. They don't really help you with anything. So
wow.
It just continues to grow. Like, there's times like you'll see an ambulance on the street because someone's passed away. Like,
oh my gosh,
from the heat, like the homeless. It's gotten insane. Like,
really,
that's crazy, girl. It's crazy. But it, like she said, it's definitely like night and day if you don't have that like hustle mentality to like just get it and go and go and go. It's hard. You gotta just really work harder. I feel like out here,
you do. Because the pay is, well, I don't know what the pay is now, but it wasn't really high. When I first moved out there, I had a 3-bedroom for $1,100, and then it's like tripled in the last few
Oh yeah, I
years.
was gonna say 1,100 for a 3.
That's
That's a
a good deal.
In
Because
2017.
girl. Because my old townhome was 2,400, something like that, for a 2-bedroom townhome. But it's after COVID, it went
It
way up.
did. Everybody moved. Everybody moved over there. So it got real bad. All my friends left for some reason. I was still surviving out there, even though everything was all shut down, and it was different. It's definitely a different Vegas now. Would you agree?
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh yeah. I did want to ask you if you don't mind talking a little bit about it. I know a lot of women. We were talking about domestic violence and everything. A lot of women out there are just too afraid to make the jump and do what they need to do. What would be some tips that you would give a woman that's gone through a similar situation or is going through something and they don't know what to do?
If you base your beliefs on a faith, you have to truly lean into that, because that is the only thing that's going to guide you through. I know people talk about being delulu and things like that. You have to lean a little bit into the delusion, because you're being beat mentally or physically, emotionally, so you probably don't have the highest self-confidence. Lean into yourself, look at your children, and really base it on your children. Do you want your kids to grow up seeing you in this state? Do you want them to be exposed to better? Who are you doing this for? That's what it really boils down to if you're in a domestic relationship with children. If not, look at yourself in the mirror and remember who you were before you got into this relationship. And there is always another person out there for you. There's somebody out there willing to love you at the state you're at your worst state, at your best state. And you're not done. You're not over. Like, once you get into these relationships, sometimes you're just so depressed. And you're like, well, who would want me anyways? And that is not the case. Somebody's going to love you. The person who is supposed to love you will love you. And sometimes you have to be that person and love yourself enough to get yourself out of there. And it'll always work out once you take that first step to get out of it.
Wow.
That's true. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of women have been through, a situation where it could have been emotionally abusive, physically, whatever. To me, it's all in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
A narcissist is a narcissist, an abuser is an abuser, regardless of the method. So what you just said about, being broken and having to, it just takes a lot, like I said, a lot of strength to be able to do that. Did you, during your journey, did you find you had any support, or like a support system, or anybody else you could lean on, or did you have to really just do it off your own, strength?
So I did move to Vegas with one roommate, and we split. Oh, and I forgot, I left this part out. So I'd stopped speaking to my family for a minute before I moved to Vegas. And then randomly out of the blue, my friend was like, well, my cousin just backed out of this apartment. I have a 3-bedroom apartment, and and I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And I was like, well, I'll just move in and I can make this work. So it came out of nowhere. It was divine timing. And we helped each other for 1 year. They decided to move to Florida after that year. And I was already established, so I ended up staying in Vegas. So that's the only person who I had. They were trying to get out of Minnesota, wanted to see what was new. And we kind of were just on the same thing. So that's really the only person that I had, though.
But I'm sure you needed it during that first, crucial year to kind of get
Everyone thought I was nuts. In the Midwest, it's a little bit different. People are very traditional, and it's a little bit slower. Like you graduate, go to college, get married, settle down. You don't live out your dreams.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So for me to just make that big jump, everybody was looking at me like, wow, she's nuts. But it all worked out. So,
man,
As long as you're happy with, it's your journey, it's your life. Like, so I'm glad that you were able to take that jump and get to be who you are now,
thank you, y'all.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing to me as well, because, I mean, a lot of people will make excuses on why they're staying in an abusive relationship, or they may not feel they have anybody out there, a support system. They may not feel they can even, survive on their own, especially if you've been with somebody for so long. It's kind of like that codependency. What were some beforehand tactics that you may have, told yourself ahead of time? Like, maybe I'm sure you kind of pre-planned this whole thing out. So how were you pepping yourself up to prepare to change the course of your life?
So, I prayed about it. First of all, I was like, God, should I do this? Oh, and I'd gone to Vegas a few times to do makeup professionally. I got flown out to do it a few times. And every time I was down there, I just felt at home. I was like, oh my gosh, I love it here. And I was like, oh, I want to live here. And I was like, I feel like I was manifesting when I was down there. So when the opportunity was presented, I outlined, I think I called it like, my guide to independence or something. And I just put every single step down, what I was supposed to do, what my credit score was supposed to be, what needs to be taken care of, and just checked everything off in a 2-month span. And then I left. But I mean, it wasn't really intricate planning. It was more so jumping when you were the most afraid. And that's really hard because everybody's going to tell you not to do something. And maybe it's not it's out of their own fear, I would say, and their own logic, things that make sense, So you have to listen to yourself and sometimes do the scariest thing, honestly.
So true. So very true. I feel, unfortunately, a lot of people's families kind of sway them out of, their dreams and their life's aspirations because the parent or whoever doesn't feel that they were good enough to possibly do something like that. So I think it's so important. And I'm very glad that you're mentioning this and bringing it up on this episode so that our viewers can really, get some insight and foresight on like how to maneuver in this world when you become of age, because sometimes you still want to listen to your parents. I know when I was a younger woman, that's kind of what I went through when I left the nest in my early 20s for that reason. But it's just really something on how we are to maneuver in this world. And that little in-between phase, I'd say it's like 18 to 22, where you're kind of like still at the mercy of your parents, but then you start to make a little bit of money or do something for yourself. Or I don't know if you were married off and already had children at a young age, but that stepping stone to that independence, it's like, it's a funny stage, really funny stage. Do you particularly have any words of advice for young women that are like in that in-between phase? Because I know Minnesota, Midwest, you're probably supposed to be a teacher or something. Nothing wrong with that. But, I'm just saying, I don't know. So what are some words of advice that you would give to some young women in that pivotal age group where they're, deciding, should I go for the dream?
I would say, I'm going to word this appropriately because I've always been that crazy person who just doesn't. I listen to people, just really try to tweak your circle, tweak who you're listening to. Even if you've been with someone, you've known someone, you've grown up with them, their journey is not necessarily your journey. You have to have such a strong sense of self that no one can tell you who you are or where you're going. So if you do feel the need to share your dreams with someone and you're not concrete, you just have to really trust these people because they can talk you out of it. But also listen to everyone's advice and also be so firm within yourself that you stand on what you know is right. Because people will try to tell you who you are in this world. And that is the number one thing that is going to keep you grounded, having a strong sense of self. So don't listen to everyone else's opinions. Listen to your inner. It's I would say cliche, but it's really the truth, Like you have to go off of your own inner feelings.
For sure. But we know the crazy Vegas, trying to make it, trying to get there. You got there. So go ahead and tell us the transition to like the slower Minnesota life. Tell us about that. How was that going?
Girl. So, I was born and raised here. So I love Vegas for the dry heat. There's always something to do if you want to do something. If you don't want to do something, there is peace and quiet out there as well. It's a perfect balance. And the sunshine is really what is something that's free that a lot of people take for granted. I don't get a lot of that out here, so I miss that in Vegas. But in Minnesota, I do have a lot of wildlife. I have a huge yard, a new house, very nice neighborhood, and it's a very family-oriented state with a lot of money. So Minnesota has a lot of money. Like Target originates here, 3M, Post, General Mills. There's a lot of money up here. So it's just, you got to go with the flow and the tide of your life, honestly. Right. It's not a forever thing. This isn't forever. I'm going back to the West Coast, but for now, we're back in Minnesota.
Yeah. And that's okay too. There's phases, there's chapters, seasons. Yeah, that's the word people use, to these phases in this thing we call life. I mean, man.
Y'all both on the West Coast? I'm sorry.
No, I'm actually in Atlanta.
Okay.
But we're both originally from Houston.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
we kind of made, huge jumps. I know I changed the entire course of my life. And I made a huge jump, and I'm out here, and we have our podcast by way of Philadelphia. So I think the story to be told is go out there, ladies. Go for it. You never know unless you take that nosedive. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? You just get up, dust yourself off, and
and keep going.
And just keep going. Did you ever have a plan B? Or was it just...
Yes, I did. I had to. I mean, I would say plan A. You know how like you listing like plan A, right? And then 1, 2, 3 bullets underneath.
Right.
If this doesn't go this way, then it can be like that. So it's always stick to the plan. But like sometimes I would have to pick up odd jobs. It's Vegas, you have to hustle. And I've always worked in the office, so I had a 9 to 5, and I got promoted really, really quickly at this job. And they wanted to keep promoting me, but it was taking away from my social media presence. And I just felt like back then people didn't really understand how much people could make, how much for free things you could get, what you could get for free. So it was hard to balance the 9 to 5 and that. But that was my backup, just doing accounts payable, receivables, and sales. So
yeah.
What's good, guys? It's Pamela and Nicole from Dynasty Queens. Real quick, I'm going to give a great shout out to our sponsor, Shopify. Are you looking to start your small online business? You can go ahead and start today with Shopify. Let me tell you why. They're the leading e-commerce brand on the internet right now. It's taking it by storm. So if you're a small business, large business, whatever kind of business you have, and you have your e-commerce that you need to get going, your marketing, purchases, whatever you want to sell to your clientele, Shopify's got you covered. They do have an easy interface, guys. So if you're looking to do easy payments with clients, just get everything off the ground, easy shopping, whatever you need to do, links, everything like that, they got you covered. It's super simple, super easy to use. So what are y'all waiting for? Go ahead and take charge of your business today and start with Shopify.
Exactly. And I think some people that are not willing to, it's not even putting your pride to the side. It's just doing what you have to do. You have this dream, and I'm talking about anybody out there. You have this dream, you're, putting it into fruition, and you have to do what you have to do until you reach some type of finish line and then start the next task at hand, whatever, that may be, running the course. So I did want you to go back a little bit. So I know we were talking about, you're in Vegas and you started doing the makeup and stuff, you're getting booked. So I know we kind of talked about, your YouTube origins and how that started, but what was that jump from, okay, I'm out here to do makeup to full-time, YouTube sensation? Like, how long did that transition period take? And then what was the course, what did it look like getting there?
Okay, so I would say it took about 3 years. It took about 3 years to really get a return of investment on what I was doing. I was doing makeup full time the first year and just kind of making makeup tutorials here and there, like just reviewing things. And I was on there, but I wasn't going all the way in, nor did I know how to go all the way in. So around the second year I was there, I picked up a mentor who specialized in SEO, how to, get the algorithm to favor you, things like that. I went to a lot of conferences and really got knowledge on how to get my stuff out there, not only to grow in numbers, but to get paid campaigns, because you didn't have to. If you know what you're doing, you don't have to have the largest following to get these brand deals if you know what you're doing. So I started networking with people like that. And so around the 2.5 year mark, I got my first big campaign with Murad's Skincare. And the number that I had in my head was extremely low, right? And we're just talking, going back and forth, trying to negotiate. And this is when I realized how much money was out here. I said, I just said I said like $600 or something, and they like tripled it And she was like, okay, we're just going to do that. And then we'll send you it. I was like, what? So then I was like, I could really, really market myself, cold pitch, just base my, So once I got that sense of how much I could make, it was about 3 years until I started turning a real profit and could stop doing makeup full time. So yeah, it wasn't overnight. It took time. It can be overnight these days. It's different these days,
Mhm.
Everybody is a guru, can give you tips on how to grow and stuff. That didn't really exist back in the
Yeah.
day.
You were like one of those pivotal paving moments in a whole new industry of, influencer and social media and stuff like that. I'm sure me and Pam can relate, Instagram and now our YouTube and stuff like that. But it's like, wow, it's just really talking to influencers from about a decade ago compared to now. It's a different story that you get, but you have to put some respect on y'all's name as y'all are innovators, so
Okay.
definitely.
Well, that's sweet.
It's hell different, like, from like you're like one of the OGs,
Right. She's one of the OGs.
Like these new cats out here. It's like the entitlement now that you see newer influencers. It's like you have to crawl before you ball, and they don't seem to understand. It's like you get a viral video, and it's like you have to keep working. It's not like self-made versus I got a viral video and I got to keep it up. I got to keep it up, and they don't have the tools to do that. They just some of them just hit the algorithm right, and now they're working triple like the time.
I feel like back in the day, people still do add value, of course, but I feel like everyone is just trying to go viral now. And if you don't know what you're doing, that's really not going to turn a profit for you. So what do you really want to get out of this? Do you want to help people by entertaining them? If so, you should have a business mind for it and not just continue to feed the algorithm to get views, because I don't know, it's just so different these days. And I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it at that. It's different, and being an OG, it's hard to it's not hard to pivot. It's just kind of hard to find how you fit in these days, because it's so easy just to do the trending sounds and stuff. But do you want to? Do you want to be your original? Yeah. Do you want to be your original self? Or it's a different outlook. I'll just say that.
Right, for sure. Which leads me to another question. So I know that you, I guess, offer some type of mentorship or programs or courses now for people that are looking to break into that influencer market, in particular the beauty influencer. So tell us about that. How did that come to be? And then what are some of the resources that people can use, your resources to, help better promote their platforms?
Okay. So what I do is, everyone has like an ebook on how to get noticed on Instagram or how to go viral. And that's not really what my focus is. My focus is how you're going to get paid, regardless of how many followers that you have. Isn't that the real thing? People, like you said, want to run before they crawl or walk. So there is other options outside of just the mainstreams of Instagram and YouTube. We've got this thing called the Flip app. I'm one of the biggest creators on the Flip app. You get 30% off every time you shop there, and that's like you going to Ulta and getting 30% off, right? They have all the makeup brands from there. They have beauty, lifestyle, home, everything. So I have an ebook course on how you can make at least $1,000 on that app while getting 3 free big ticket items as well. So that's an ebook that I get that is linked in my Instagram bio, and I'm actually refilming all my other modules as well for like Instagram, how to cold pitch yourself to brands. But my main focus was the Flip app, because I know that it really does work. I know people who have made like $96,000 off of the Flip app just from their reviews and the residual, because you make money off of your review for a year. So I just feel like it's a hidden gem. It almost sounds too good to be true, but it has truly worked for me. And that's what I try to pitch out there for micro influencers who may be a little bit discouraged because they feel like they're being lost in the algorithm or not being noticed. So there's different things, and all these companies talk to each other. So you have to start somewhere.
I love that you mentioned that too, because I watched your reels and everything, and you have a lot of name brand stuff. So for the girl that is watching, it's like, dang, I want to get there. I want to try this product, but the funds are kind of low. What would you recommend, like as like dupes? Are there dupes out there, like different brands, or what would you recommend for a girl that's wanting to be part of like the trending makeup and beauty, but they can't really afford the name brand?
Oh, you don't have to afford the name brand. I just like it. I started out with milk and magnesia. Everyone's at different stages. So if you can't afford it, make that your niche. Start out there. Go to affordable dupes. Just do that. And really stick to this niche for a while until you say, hey girl, I've graduated now. This is what I finally want. There's a market for everybody. You can go get stuff from a Dollar Tree and create content like, oh, this is the finds from Dollar Tree that are dupes. It's never about how much money is in your bank account. It's what you can contribute to and how you can niche down and provide good content. So it doesn't even matter. I just like the name brand stuff right now. So
yeah. And then even at that, she's saying, and how to make the content because she knows she's going to make a profit off the content. So then you can afford the name brand products like her Mac, so. It comes full circle. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so that's what you have out there. So currently, right now, how many people have you introduced to, I guess, Flip app, and what are the success stories so far?
I have about 5 or 6 success stories. A lot of people signed up. A lot of people downloaded the ebook. At first, I was selling the ebook, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was just so eager for everyone to get this knowledge that I started giving away for free. And since I curated the ebook, the company has been sold, so I have to tweak it and do a little bit of revisions. But the information is kind of still the same, and there still is a profit to be made. So,
yeah,
there's so gems out there too, like with Flip. I'm familiar with Flip. There's so many other apps, like if you go on the App Store for influencers, micro influencers, just to get you going. And it, like she said, Nia, it doesn't even matter about like how many thousands of like followers you have. Like they want variety. They want, if you've got like 1,000 people, if you have like 200,000, like they don't care. And I love the inclusiveness of that. It's not just all about the dang, I don't have enough followers to even qualify for something like this. Like it gives everybody that chance to, make it.
And there's a bunch out there. I do, I guess I have to get back into it, but I only focus mostly on Flip because that's where I truly excel at. Mm-hmm. But it's a really welcoming community as well. And it feels very nice. You don't have to worry about getting attacked or not having enough money or having a nice setup. It's just mostly real life viewers who are giving you their opinions. So I like that kind of environment.
Yes, I'm here for it. Okay.
Yeah, girl.
What are some of the hardships that you've dealt with as far as being a beauty influencer?
Well, it's never easy. Back in the day, I couldn't afford the stuff that I wanted. Always having to scrape my pennies together. Or I worked at Sephora, so I used a lot of gratis even in my beauty kit. And then as you start to grow, you can get caught up in the comparison game. That's the world that we live in. You're like, okay, she's excelling. Why is this company working with her? She doesn't want to work with me. So then you have to second guess yourself with that. You always have to reinvent yourself. It's kind of hard. Not reinvent yourself completely, but roll with the tides. And you do grow. So there's always a different version of yourself that you have to introduce to your audience. You never know if they're going to be welcoming to receive that. And then, of course, the trolls online. Like I got attacked for the first time, really, like the end of this year. And then it gives you a different outlook on what the Uber people go through on a day-to-day basis is not healthy because you really can't stop these people unless you delete your things. So it's not a good feeling. I have to tell you that. You can't argue with all these people in your comments either.
Right.
You have to be professional.
Yeah. What good does that do? These are people with Twitter fingers. That's what they call it, right? I mean, they're hiding behind phone screens and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, and just seeing like people that do stuff like that, I feel that has something to do with their own self-esteem and what they have going on. So they're just trying to perpetuate that on the next person. And of course, if they see an influencer who's popular and monetizing, there can be hate and jealousy. So question for you, has there been, and you don't have to specify names or anything, and yes, I may be trying to stir up the pot, but no. In this beauty influencer game that you are so well versed in, a part of, and right? Mm-hmm. How many haters how many of your peers have come across as straight haters?
Damn, man. I'm sorry, not to cuss, but something. It's like one of those things that you don't want to talk about, but it is so prominent, and it sucks because you just be trying to pop your, you know what, and then people want to like sneak diss. But like you can pick up on the energy, and it's just like, dang, what was I giving off to make you give me that back? What did I do? I just was feeling cute and I posted something. Or, another thing is that when you're in the beauty industry, like, all the eclectic beauty looks and stuff, if you did a look last week, somebody can copy you and then try to gaslight you into thinking that they didn't copy you or you didn't influence them. And there's nothing you can really do if they don't take accountability. So I experience that a lot. And the thing about it is that a lot of people who bite off of you are Uber influencers. Like, I'm not an Uber influencer, but like the people who I have a lot who do. And then I'll see the people like take an idea that I had. And it's just like, okay, why? That's hard. It's a part of life. People are going to bite if you're popping. I didn't invent anything. Just because I put it out there doesn't mean that I was the first, So you have to have strong mental health for this game. I'm serious.
Most definitely.
You really do. And also you have to look at the world. How I view the world is what I think about myself. So if I think everybody's a hater, what does that say about me? People could be dealing with something and I don't have to take that to heart. What they got going on is them. It's not a reflection of me. So I'm going to keep doing what I got to do.
That's absolutely right.
Another thing too, you have to remember, like, it's online. It's a reality, but it's not a reality because you get away from your phone, you get away from your computer, and you live your own life. And some people, that is their life. So they just dwell on that and they just watch, and it's just.
Yeah, but at the same time, in this world, if we're talking about, because of course, I hear what you're saying, Pam, when it comes to like the regular people that may follow her page or whatever, our subscribers, talking their shit, because they're haters. But people that are in the same industry as her, who she just said, people who have larger followings who are, I guess intimidated by people being on their heels, like, oh, this person's coming for me. And it doesn't have to be like that. There's fair game and there's room for a lot of people in this realm, influencers in some type of capacity, so I don't like that, but of course I can relate as well. So
yeah,
but you seem to be a strong and tough enough woman. What's really cool about you? You have such a cute little delicate voice, but you are mighty powerful. Like,
thank you. Thank you.
I love that. She's like, I'm gonna curse you out with my cute little voice, okay? But you're gonna kill this rat, okay?
Give it class and poise, like no.
Right?
No.
Yeah, definitely poise. Yes.
No, I'm an Aries too, so that means a lot because everybody says we're always mad.
Oh, facts. No, Raquelle, I did have a really important question. A lot of, our viewers and young adults, they're wanting to get into this world, right? Can you go ahead and just talk about the time that needs to be put into doing reels? Because people sometimes think, oh, let me do a reel real quick, like, and then we can grab dinner or grab a drink. Like, let them know the reality of making reels, of making videos, editing, recording. Let them know what it is.
So it is time consuming, and I don't want to scare anybody because once you're crazy and you have a vision, you want to do something, you're going to make it work. But don't think that you're going to cut any corners and get where you want to be, which is everybody wants to be on the top. So figure out if you're a long form content or a short form. If you're a short form content person, you have to schedule and have block days where you're going to film and edit and record. Otherwise, you're going to fall off and you're not going to be consistent. So really figure out what you want to do. Long form content takes so much time to edit. You have to invest in your software. You have to invest in plugins for your software if you want people to interact for long form content, because no one just wants to sit. You know what I mean? You start out where you are, figure out if it's long form or short form. And then you also have to invest in your craft. So you can start out with your phone, but once you get to a certain point, you have to start investing and get a camera, maybe get a lighting setup, maybe go to rent out a content studio. But you always want to be progressive and learning and going with the tides, because there's people who have, like super professional photographers filming. Like, you have to really know what you're going against. So you could go viral. And if you do go viral, take whatever check you get and then reinvest it into your craft and give yourself the time.
I think that is very important tidbit that you just plugged in there. Once you start making money, you have to reinvest it back into the craft. A lot of people may say, oh, okay, I made over the course of 2 months, I made like $3,000 off of, oh, well, time to go to Gucci. No, so it seems like you were more obedient and more disciplined, I guess, with, what you knew you had to do. And I'm sure now down the line, 12 years later in the game, I mean, obviously it's benefited you, so what are some words of advice that you would give to a young person that's trying to become an influencer who may be triggered by the immediate impulse to spend what they're making? How did you, as a young woman and with 2 children coming into the game, manage to, save and, become successful from it, not become a, disaster story?
I was so obsessed with this one camera. I was like, if I can just get this camera, everything's gonna be good. So I started with my cell phone. I did use what I had until I could invest. Just don't get lost. Don't always think that, oh well, I got success doing this. My audience is always gonna see me like this. The bigger you get, you are going to have to invest. Just have that in your mind that this is a business and it should be progressive. You should be scaling you are your business. So you want to scale it, invest in yourself and take this seriously. It should be fun. But if you want this to be your life and a serious content creator, you're saying like if they want to be a serious full-time content creator, right?
Right.
You have to look at yourself as a business. It's not all fun and games. It's not just haha. A lot of these content creators who do even the joke skits work for hours and hours. It's a lot behind the scenes.
Yes.
So take yourself seriously, and in turn, these businesses will take you seriously as you start to scale.
Spoken like a true, fashionista, makeup-anista, whatever.
Well,
what's next for you, Raquelle? What's next for the rest of 2024?
Well, I'm going on a 2-week vacation to find myself. We're going to Bali, and it's a business trip, actually. I'm going with my new mentor. We're going to be going on a business trip, and I want to network around people who make money from social media and e-commerce, drop shipping. That is what I'm getting into right now as well. And then back to full-time content creating. I took some time off. I moved. I was in a transition, figuring things out. So I'm going to be putting out a lot of content. I was in a little social media rest. So a lot of new ventures, a lot of travel, a lot of new content, actually. So, and then the courses. I'm refilming the courses for everybody. Just even though there's a lot of courses out there, I still can give back to what I think would help people from a different point of view. So I just want to have that out there for everyone to have access to.
Man, I love that. Such a humble queen, like really, because she could just be like, screw these people. Let me just, it's balance. And I'm sure that you've been blessed beyond measure because of, that is in essence a sense of giving back. And if the information is there, you guys, like, please, if you're really serious about jumping into this influencer game, use the resources.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been just a wonderful guest because, man, it is so true and pivotal. And I'm picking up little stuff from what she's saying too, because we're pretty heavy in this game as well in different, arenas of influence. But man, I want you to actually go ahead and share where the people can find you on all your socials and any links and stuff to the courses and all that really quickly.
All right. So I am mostly on Instagram. It is Raquelle Lynnette, RaquelleLynnette, and all socials, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. If you're interested in any of the ebooks or anything I talked about, you can click the link in my bio and it'll be listed down for you guys. I'm revamping everything, but for the Flip app, the ebook is there. The knowledge is free. It's free to sign up. And if you want to start making some money, go ahead and download the ebook and get started immediately.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Raquelle, for coming by the Dynasty House. I know that we truly appreciated you, and I know our viewers are really going to love this one just because of all the information that you're willing to share. And much blessing and much success on your future endeavors. I know, girl, you're about to kill it, and everything you have going on because you seem to be so strategic with your planning. But that's what it takes. She's honing her craft, y'all, and she is rocking and rolling out here.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I really appreciated this talk. I needed this, actually. So thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate
So,
you.
in closing, this is your girl, NiaJ, and I have the wonderful, beautiful co-host of mine,
Pamela Nicole.
and this has been another episode of Dynasty Queens. Peace out.